Good evening, all, for the research lecture. Today's lecture is on new topic data collection methods and techniques. After completing the sampling chapter, we are moving to a new chapter data collection and techniques. Let's see the basic introduction of data collection method. So before that, I want to tell there are different methods of collecting data are there. So in this video, our focus is on observation method only. So once we completed selecting a research problem, then once our research plan is finalized, that is the research design, once we finalize, then we are going for selecting the method for collecting data. So when we speak about data, you must know there are two types of data. One is primary data, another one is secondary data. The primary data are those which are collected afresh. That is the information which we go directly and collect. The first hand information or the fresh information which represents the original character of the sample is called primary data. There is another type of data called secondary data. This secondary data are not fresh data. This data have been already collected by someone else, and these data have already undergone some statistical process. So this is secondary data. So mostly in nursing research, we are collecting primary data only. So the method of collecting primary data and secondary data also differs, like its characteristics. The primary data collection is very important, and it have various methods. But for collecting secondary data, just we need to compile all those data which have been already collected. So this is the difference. Primary data can be collected with many techniques, many tools can be used, and secondary data we can collect very easily. Just we need to compile those data, those who have already collected. So whenever you want to collect data, you need to have answer for this 5 W's. First one is, you as a researcher, you must know what data are to be collected. So what are the things you need to collect from the samples? The second W is, from whom data are to be collected. Who is your sample? So we can collect data only from the sample who met the criteria in our study. We cannot collect data from those who are not our samples. Next one is, who will collect the data, whether you will go and collect the data or some other people will go and collect data on behalf of you. When you are the primary researcher, you should go and collect the data. Sometimes we may have some assistant, they also can go and collect the data. So that also we must decide very earlier who will collect the data, from where the data will be collected. Sometimes we collect the data in the hospital, we may collect data in the community, or we might collect data in the homes, or we can collect data in the schools, occupational area, like that. When the data is to be collected, so that is very important. So when the samples are free, during that time only you can go and collect data. When the samples are busy in some work, or when the samples are not available, for example, you want to collect data from the school teachers. When you go on Sunday to the school, you cannot meet the school teachers, you cannot collect the data. When you want to collect data from the parents of the school students, either you can go to their house and collect data, or when the parents come to school to leave their children's, during that time you can collect data. Similarly, when you go to hospital and collect data from the nurses, morning time nurses may be very busy with nursing rounds, medical rounds. They may be preparing the records, they may be involving in administering various procedures to the patient. That time you cannot collect data. So you must get appointment and you can collect data in such cases. So these are the 5 W's you must know when you collect the data. Next, we are going to see the basic terms related to data collection. Many people does not know what is the method of data collection, what techniques are used in data collection, what is the instrument. So basically, these three concepts are different. First one is methods of collecting data. There are various steps in collecting the data. So simply you cannot go and collect the data. First you must plan how to collect data. You must set the time. There are some steps in collecting data. There are some strategies you need to plan and you should analyze. Then only you can go and collect the data. That is method of data collection. Before collecting the data, you need to take consent from the sample, and you must collect the data on particular time. So that is the method of data collection. Permission to be taken from the authorities of the hospital or schools or from the community. You need to take permission from the corporation officer or from the sarpanch of the village, like that. Techniques of data collection, how I am going to collect the data, whether I am going to use any specific tools for collecting the data. For example, I want to assess the pain among cancer patients, then I can use numerical pain rating scale. So when I want to have the pain assessment in children, then I cannot use numerical pain rating scale, particularly when we are going to assess in the very young children, then I can go for facial expression scale, like that we have. Okay. So which technique you are going to use, whether you are going to use checklist or you are going to use questionnaire method, like that. Next one is instrument, to observe certain research concept which you are interested to study. How you are going to observe that? Sometimes when we want to observe the blood pressure of a client, then we use the instrument sphygmomanometer. When we want to assess the functional values of the lung volumes, then we use spirometry. So like that, we use various ABG analysis. That is also one type of tool which we use to assess the blood gas. So this is instrument. So to assess the weight, we use weight machines. So these are the three basic terms. You should not confuse each other. So today's class is focused on the how to collect the primary data. So in this, mainly we are focusing, we do research, either experimental research or descriptive research. So in both the type of research, the method of collecting data varies. So when we use the descriptive research, commonly we use survey method for collecting data. Survey can be collected from the samples. So, for example, I have taken 100 samples. So, I do the survey from these 100 samples alone. There is another type of survey called census survey. So, in a village, if 4,000 people are there, I am going to collect data from all the 4,000 people. So, that is census survey. So basically, 10-year once government is taking the population survey. So that comes under census survey. I want to collect information about the nursing services in all the patient in the hospital. So then I can go for census survey. Then we can obtain data either through observation method or through communication method. So observation method, just we observe the behavior, observe the lifestyle of some samples or some persons, and we record in the data sheet. Whereas direct communication, when we have some personal interviews with the sample, and through that interviews we collect data by asking question and getting the answer from them. So that is personal interviews. So the next important thing, various methods of collecting primary data are there, particularly surveys. Particularly, these methods are used in descriptive researches, and some methods are used in both experimental and descriptive or non-experimental researches. So what are the common types of or methods of collecting primary data? First one is observation method. that we are focusing in this video. Next, interview method, questionnaire method, schedules, warranty cards, we have distributor audits, and we have pantry audits, consumer panels, using mechanical devices, using projective techniques, depth interviews. Depth interviews are used in qualitative researchers and content analysis. So these are the different methods of collecting primary data. So we focus on the observation method, most commonly used by all the researcher in the behavioral science is observation method. It is a scientific tool. Observation is a scientific tool, but not all the times. But when this method serves the research purpose, then this observation becomes a scientific tool. Observation cannot be done simply. We must plan the observation systematically, and we should record, and we should validate validate the information and check the reliability of the information. So when you do observation, certain things which can affect the observation also need to be controlled. Observation becomes a good method only when it is systematically planned and record, and this information is subjected to control on validity and reliability. So in this unit, we will see what is validity and reliability very detailedly later. Now let's see the under observation method. What we are doing, we are collecting the information. How? Either by direct observation. So direct observation, how? Just I am observing you, how you come outside. When you come outside, I am just seeing what kind of uh, wristwatch you are wearing. What is the brand of your wristwatch? Or just I am standing in the canteen. I just watch what kind of snacks the students are eating mostly. Which snacks is mostly eaten by the students. Just I observe. So that is direct observation. So best thing about the direct observation is we no need to ask any consent from the respondents. Respondents, I cannot go and ask, I am going to observe you, so give me permission. Like that, we don't no need to ask the permission from the respondent. Just we can observe by our own eyes. So this is called direct observation. The next type, the advantage of direct observation is the subjective bias is eliminated. For example, I myself see which product you are buying in the cool drinks. So, if someone is saying that this product is sold mostly, so that may be error. For example, the shopkeeper might tell this product is moving very fastly, but that may be wrong also. But when we see directly which product is moving fast, subjective bias is eliminated in this case. If observation is done accurately, we get good result. Findings we can get accurately. The second advantage is the information which we are getting from this method is basically focus on what is happening on the day currently. For example, on Wednesday in the canteen, every student buys egg puffs. So I cannot come to a conclusion that on Thursday also students will buy egg puffs in more number. So the observation method gives information about what is happen at current scenario. The third advantage is this is very simple method. Here we no need to take any willingness of the respondent. Already I told I am not going to ask any prior permission from the respondent to observe. Just we sit in a chair and easily we can observe. But in another methods like interview method or questionnaire method, before collecting data, we must ask them permission. that I'm going to do research, I want to get information from you. But in this observation method, it is not needed. So next important thing about observation method, this observation method is suitably used in studies when we deal with the respondents who are not capable of giving verbal reports of their feelings for one reason or the other. So in a house where some death occurred, we can go and see how they grieve to the loss. So during the time, nobody will come and sit with you and give all the information about their feelings, emotional things they will not share. So in such cases, we can observe very easily. Observation method also have some limitations, some disadvantages. First disadvantages, it is sometimes expensive method. So for observing something, you need to spend more time. You want to wait for 100 samples, and from when the 100 sample come till that time, you need to spend your time. So that is expensive method. Expensive not only the money, it also deals with the time, the precious time. Secondly, the information which is provided by the subject is just very limited. Sometimes students comes and buy the egg puffs. So the egg puffs alone we are just seeing. We are not seeing whether they are eating that or how many egg puffs is eaten by one student. That and all we are not getting the information. So the information which we get from the observation method is very limited. Thirdly, sometimes unforeseen factors may interfere with the observational task. When I want to observe your behavior, when I get a phone call, so that may distract my observation. So that is the unforeseen factor. So when I need to observe your purchasing products, some other person can hide that one. Come and stand. Some person can come in between our observation. So that is another disadvantage. At the time of the what mainly this direct observation sometimes creates obstacle for collecting data effectively. Directly, sometimes if somebody knows that we are observing them, they cannot do that activities because of some shy. So just we are observing what kind of makeup a girl is putting. So the girl knows that that person is observing the makeup what we are applying in our face. Then they may not come outside with makeup. So that is another disadvantage in the observation method. Direct observation have this disadvantage. The next one is when we use the observation method, we should know what we should observe, how the observation should be recorded. Very important thing is what we need to observe. First, we must focus what we are going to observe, and we want to focus how we are going to record, whether we are going to record on the spot or we are going to record later. How the accuracy of observation can be ensured, that is another important thing. When you record the information on the spot, it is good, you will not forget anything. Sometimes when you go and record the information later, you might forget, and sometimes you can record wrongly also. So in case observation is characterized by uh, observation, in case the observation characterized by the careful definition of the units to be observed. So priorly decide what you are going to observe and how you are going to observe. That is a style of recording. How you are going to record, on the spot recording or later you are going to record. That is the important thing. And what kind of information you are going to record, whether any standardized conditions you are going to follow while observing the phenomena. So if you have some criteria in the observation, that observation method is called structured observation. Structured observation, when you have criteria, what you are going to observe, how you are going to observe, what method you are going to record. So when you have this criteria while observing, that is called structured observation. So opposite to structured observation is unstructured observation. Here, just you are observing and just you are recording without having any criteria. That is unstructured observation. So far, we have seen two types of observation. Observed, this one is structured observation method. Another one is unstructured observation method. So next, another type of observation method. This structured observation method commonly used in descriptive studies because it is appropriate method, but in exploratory studies where we use unstructured observation more commonly. So structured observation is used in the descriptive studies mostly, and in exploratory studies we use unstructured method. So when we talk about another types of observation method is participant and non-participant type of observation. So first we have seen structured observation and unstructured observation. Now we are going to see participant observation and non-participant observation. There is some difference. The distinction depends upon the observer sharing or not sharing the life of the group he is observing. For example, I want to observe how students in the hostel experience the food. So, in the participatory observation method, I will go and stay in the hostel and I will eat the food what the students are eating. Then I can understand your opinion about your feelings about the food. So that is participatory observation. If the observer observes by making himself more or less a member of the group. So I want to know how you experience the quality of food which is provided in the college mess. So I am the researcher. I come to your mess daily and I am eating the same food what you are eating. So here I am also the participate. I am taking part in your activities. And by this I learn how you feel emotionally, how you have the opinion about the food, what opinion are. So that I also learn. So this method is called participatory observation method. Another type, I am just coming to the hostel. I am not eating the food what you are eating. Just I am staying away and I just see how you eat the food and what you say about the food. So that is non-participant observation. Both are different. Okay. The next method is there is another type of observation called disguised observation. I'm hiding and watching what you are doing. So you don't know that I am watching you. I keep some CCTV camera and I watch what you are doing. I'm standing in a room and from the room I am seeing what you talk, what you express about the food. So that is called disgust observation. So there are some benefit of observation, participant type of observation. Let's see the merits of the participant type of observation. So first one is the researcher enable to record the natural behavior of the group. So when I participate in your activity as one of the member, so I record the natural thing, what is happening in the group that I can record. The second one is when the researcher can gather the information which could not be easily obtained if the observer in a disinterested fashion. For example, I'm not coming to the mess, so I'm staying outside the mess. So then I cannot get the proper information what food you are eating, how the food is served, whether the mess area is clean or not. So when we participate in the with the sample, then we can get all the information. The third one is the third merit or advantage is the researcher can even verify the truth of statements. Just you are writing in the mess report register, food is bad, food is good. So that I can verify it whether the statement which you are told is really good, really it is a factual information or it is a just a lie that I can able to come to understand when I involve in participatory observation. There are some demerits in the participatory type of observation. First, like sometimes we lose the objectivity. Why means like when I sit with the students and eat the mess food, so I can emotionally hide some of the things like when we tell outside this food is not good, then student also will feel. So that time we may hide on some of the important information because of the emotional feelings. The problem of observation here is the control is not solved. Sometimes we cannot give all the information. Emotionally, we might hidden some of the information, and this may be because of the just only one day I am coming and participating in the activity. So that is not enough to give the very objective information. That is another. So if I come for 1 month, if I am sitting with the students and eating the food in the mess, so that is good. But that much time the researcher will not spend. So that is a disadvantage. And another type of observation method we are going to see is controlled observation method and uncontrolled observation method. So far we have seen first one we have seen structured and unstructured observation method. Next we have seen participatory observation method, non-participatory observation method. Also we have seen discussed observation method, controlled observation method and uncontrolled observation method. Now we are going to see. So the controlled observation. So you know that the observation takes place in the well developed setting like any lab or any experimental setting. So the setting is pre-arranged. We have the plan. So such type of observation is called, this is controlled observation. So inside exam hall, we keep CCTV and we are observing the students' behavior. So that is controlled. So rules and regulations are there. Like this, you have to behave. What these things you can do in a laboratory, what students are doing, that we can able to observe. In the hospital, how students are giving nursing care, that can be monitored. So when the patients, doctors, nurses are there, how the students doing the procedure, so that is controlled observation. In uncontrolled observation, just we are observing without any without any instruments. Only just we see what they are doing, just how they do, but we don't have any records. Just we are not maintaining the proper information what we are updating. So here complete behavior we cannot observe in the uncontrolled or non-controlled observation. Certain things only we can observe, some many things we cannot observe. So in a controlled observation, we use some mechanical devices or instruments to monitor the accuracy and standardized information. For example, I use CCTV, I use the microphone to record your verbal this one verbal behavior. So this type of observation is used when we collect formalized data. So such data which we collect in in controlled observation can be used for generalizing the findings of the result with the higher degree of assurance. Finally, the controlled observation should be taken place where we are doing the experiment, like laboratory, and uncontrolled observation methods can be done in the exploratory researches. So in the experimental research, we go for controlled observation. In the exploratory studies, we go for this one uncontrolled observations. So this is about observation method. So we have seen what are the methods of collecting data. We have seen the difference between the techniques of collecting data and this one. What are the tools used in collecting data? Then we have seen various methods used for collecting primary data. We have seen observation, interview, questionnaire, some kind of this one audit, panel audit. We have seen the pantry audits. So we have seen different method and focused on the observation method for today's class. And we have seen different methods of observations. First, we have seen what is observation method. Then we have seen this one. First, we have seen the uh, structured observation method and unstructured observation method, the merits and demerits. Then we have seen the participatory observation method, non-participatory observation method, discussed observation method with examples we have seen. Then finally we have seen controlled observation method, uncontrolled observation method and its merits. So this is all about observation method. In tomorrow's class, we will see about interview method for collecting data. So this is the end of this lecture. Take care. Bye bye. Good night.